Hey, overnight shoots, what's up? It's the Culture Detective here, dying of insomnia. And today I'm going to be doing an anime review of the Apothecary Diaries, or in Japanese, Kasuria no Hitorikoto, which literally means the apothecary loner soliloquy. But yeah, this is an anime based off of a light novel of the same name, written by Hyuga Natsu and illustrated by Togo Shino. And then it is adapted into an anime by Toho Animation Studios and OLM Studios. So I've been meaning to watch this anime for a very long time, and in fact, I've been watching this anime for the last like 3 weeks, almost 3 weeks, and I've been watching episode by episode, but I keep running out of time. I was planning to finish this anime, at least season one of this anime, like a whole week ago, but I keep postponing watching it because things keep happening in my life. But finally, I managed to watch 3 episodes during a film shoot on a film set on my phone last night, and then I just finished the last 3 episodes. I woke up early just to do that. So, anyways, I finally finished watching this anime. Yay! So the story is essentially about a girl by the name of Mao Mao, which literally means cat or kitty, or cat, but you know, the Chinese language love using double. Anyways, Mao Mao is our main character here, and she is not your average female main character in animes because she is apothecary person. She likes poisons, and she likes medicine, and she likes drugs, and she likes experimenting with poisons, and that's what she does. And so this is a story about how she got kidnapped and sold off into the imperial palace. And so she began working as a servant until one day, on episode 1, she got noticed by this handsome fellow by the name of Jinshi. And Jinshi is sort of like the manager of the rear palace, which is the part of the imperial palace where concubines sort of live in different courts, and they have their own little group of servants, and they're all concubines to the emperor, and that's pretty much it. So essentially, a bunch of weird, crazy shit happens. People get poisoned, people get murdered, weird explosions happen, and every time something weird happens, Jinshi would ask Mao Mao to help investigate, and Mao Mao will investigate and save the day. So, first of all, this is an episodic show. Again, I always never expect an anime to be episodic. I always think anime is going to be serial because most of the animes I've seen are serial. Aside from the old ones, Ava, Cowboy Bebop. But Apothecary Diaries is kind of episodic-ish. Every single episode, something different happens, a whole new story happens, and a whole new mystery happens. It gets solved within 1 or 2 episodes. However, it is not exactly completely episodic. It is also kind of serial-ish because these mysteries, they kind of intertwine, and then characters reoccur, and lore about the entire show overall also slowly develop. So in a way, this anime is actually a love letter to iconic Chinese slash Hong Kong period dramas, like TV dramas, where, for 50, 60, maybe 70, maybe even 80 episodes straight, each episode a whole hour long. You just get stuck with the same few characters on the same cheap ass film set, just episode every week, and there's something very minute and trivial happening every single episode, and they intertwine a little bit, but then they're also separate from every single episode. These Chinese slash Hong Kong dramas have been very popular, especially throughout the 2000s and the 2010s, and no doubt these dramas have also extended its popularity throughout places like Japan and even South Korea. So it might be a huge assumption, but I feel like the Apothecary Diaries is essentially a love letter to these types of dramas. For instance, there's a Hong Kong TV show called 天涯織女, which I don't even know how to translate that title. It's about a girl who knows how to sew clothes, but during the Song Dynasty. But somehow this TV show is super long and it sort of develops onwards again and again and again. But we get stuck with the same few characters and the same few locations. So in a way, the Apothecary Diaries feel very grounded. One of my biggest complaints when it comes to period films and period shows is that they don't feel grounded. We constantly go to different characters and we go to different locations, and the whole thing feels very out of touch. But the Apothecary Diaries is very much the opposite. We keep saying the same 3-4 characters, and the same few things keep happening, which in a sense mimics real life really well. You think that if you live in, imperial China, this is what's going to happen to you. That is, if you work in the imperial palace. But sometimes it is too grounded. Like, I do wish I could see more. Like, see more characters, see more interesting things happen, see more lores. But anyways, let's talk about the OP and EDs. They're pretty mid. In fact, the first OP is pretty bad. The music is this dramatic indie rock song with big drum hits and distorted guitars. That is completely out of match with the tone of the anime, which is period China. That's completely unmatched. I don't know why. And the visuals are pretty mid as well, just your basic, average visuals. There's nothing interesting or special about the visuals to the OPs or the EDs, so they're both very forgettable. I keep skipping them. Unfortunately, I don't like the OP at all. Then we have the music, which is surprisingly done by not one, not two, but 3 composers, separately Kosaki Satoru, Kevin Penkin, and Elisa Okehazama. And I am familiar with the first 2 out of these 3 names. Of course, Kosaki Satoru is literally my favorite anime composer of all times because he is the genius behind the score of Suzumiya Haruhi, Beastars, and my favorite anime, Monogatari series, and he's put so much creativity and love and passion and eccentricity to his music that essentially pushes him to my favorite spot as anime music composer. Meanwhile, we have the incredibly talented Kevin Penkin, who had done music for Made in Abyss and Tower of God, and his music is pretty great too. So this strange 3-way collaboration, what's the result? Kind of underwhelming. Unfortunately, I feel like all 3 of these artists have restricted creativity. They either have to do classical Chinese music, and I feel like all 3 of them aren't too familiar with that. Second of all, there are tracks in the soundtrack that is obviously a departure from classical Chinese music, but they're still kind of basic. There's one track that I kind of like, and it's sort of like this Arabic track, which is a very huge difference from classical Chinese music. It has these Arabic elements, these Hindustani drums mixed into it at the same time. And right off the bat, I can immediately tell it is the work of Kosaki Satoru, given how much he likes to borrow elements from, Hindustani music and Arabic music and flamenco and whatever into his own music. And then we have the atmospheric, reverby, dramatic ones, and they're clearly by Kevin Penkin. But one thing I really love about this anime, the colors. I mean, holy shit. If this anime is live action, it would have been, production design galore. 101 production design, because the coloring in this anime is absolutely beautiful. There are some shots in this anime where I was like, this goes so hard, I need to take a screenshot. I need to take a photo with my own phone because this is so beautiful. Also, the voice acting, not too bad. Mao Mao is played by Aoi Yuki, who have always been typecasted as, young baby girl voices, but this time around she performs with a much more lower register in her voice, so this breaking of the typecast is pretty cool. Now let's talk about the story itself, or more so the historical accuracy. Oh boy, the moment I watch a Chinese historical thing, I'm going to be like, the historical accuracy. Now, the beginning of the show makes me question a little bit because on episode 2, we have cocoa powder and then cocoa fruits, which is obviously from South America. On episode 4, there's one shot that involves bananas and berries, which are both fruits that originate from America, the continent. And then on episode 8, we also have straws, which after a little Google search, I found out that it is invented in the USA in the late 19th century, just 30 years before the end of Imperial China. That is the Qing dynasty. So obviously these moments make me think, how? Why? Okay, the straw thing is definitely a no-go. The fruits thing may still work if we're talking about the late Qing dynasty. So to pinpoint the Apothecary Diaries in one specific dynasty is very difficult because, for one, a lot of the costumes, a lot of the art and design, and the fruits and the technology you mentioned is very Qing dynasty. But then at the same time, there's so many moments in this show that just feels like it came out of Song dynasty or Ming dynasty. It's a bit of hodgepodge of everything, but then again, it came out of a light novel, so I shouldn't be criticizing too much. But there are also a lot of moments in the show that make me go, oh, that's actually pretty historically accurate, especially when it comes to government structures, which is something that I've been a huge nerd of for like 2 years already. I've been studying Chinese government structures, especially historical Chinese government structures. One real impressive moment happened on, I believe, episode 13, when Jinshi was taking Mao Mao to the outer courts and he was introducing these places, and he's like, oh, this is Toshu Kan in Japanese, which in Cantonese it would be Do Sui Gam, or in Mandarin it would be Du Shui Jian, and that means Directorate of Waterways, which is a little directorate within the 5 directorates. Hey, so the writer did her research. And also the Ministry of Rights, which is part of the 3 departments, 6 bureaus, 3 bureaus, 6, whatever. But that's also really cool mentions. There's also the emphasis on the importance of courtesans and brothels and their relationship with government officials. So yeah, these parts feel really accurate to me, and they always make me go, aha, that's pretty good. Anyways, into the actual story itself. A lot of the story actually are not that memorable in my opinion, but it is the intertwining stories that really stick out the most. I really like episode 6, The Garden Party, definitely one of the highlights of the first half. And then episodes 7 and 8 are amazing. On episode 7, Mao Mao found a way to get out of the palace and visit her home, which is in the entertainment district, in the pleasure district, if you will. And it's called Homecoming, and it's a really nice breath of fresh air, kind of like an interlude. And then on episode 8, we have the courtesan mystery, where Mao Mao is back on her investigative thing, but this time it's not in the palace. This time it is in the brothel, which is I remember the name, the Verdigris House, which is a weird English translation. It's a cool English translation. It's classy, but the actual name is like Blue Green House or something, which is pretty nice. And that is a pretty cool little mystery moment that has nothing to do with the rest of the story. Episode 11 is basically the finale of the first arc, or at least the first half of this season of Apothecary Diaries. We finally meet the real culprit, who are behind the scenes of multiple mysteries. So that's that. However, I don't like the reveal of the culprit. I think it's a little cheesy. The crying, the waterworks is a little dramatic, but whatever. Episode 12 is where Mao Mao gets fired. I'm sorry for the spoiler alert, but it's true. She gets fired. And then she returns to her home again. But I actually really enjoy it because once again, it feels like a breath of fresh air. But there's this moment where she is in a position where she thinks about her life in the Imperial Palace and how we suddenly enter this montage of recap sequence with an insert song. And I actually really enjoyed that. In a lot of ways, I see myself in Mao Mao in that moment because once every half a year I go back to Hong Kong, and then occasionally I would feel very, in my feels, and I would think about all the important events that had happened to me in the last year in the land of America, and then it would be very dramatic, and I would think about my life, and I would think about the meaning of life. I would think about the existence, and it's very much that, and I really like that. Onto the second half of the anime. It is a bit more enjoyable in my opinion, mostly because the mysteries are a bit more engrossing and interesting. On episode 18, we have the incredibly dramatic scene involving a ceremony and a ceremonial accident, which is easily the most action-packed episode and the most suspense thriller-ish episode of the entire series so far. So I really like that episode. Really like the way all the mysteries intertwine. And then we have the last 3 episodes, which are honestly banger after banger after banger. The last 3 episodes, I just watched them because we finally know Mao's past. We finally know her past, and this reveal turns into one of the biggest emotional moments in anime this year, that I also felt emotionally affected. Yes. We're introduced to this creepy guy, Lacan, which sounds like the French philosopher, Lacan. And he's this weird military strategist with a monocle, and right off the bat you can tell he's like James Moriarty. He's like the bad guy, but turns out he's not really the bad guy. He's just a complicated guy with a complicated past. And I, as long as many other people, ended up being really sympathetic to him, even though he's a weirdo and an asshole. But he does have a certain backstory to him that makes him a bit more sympathetic. And there's one scene that almost made me cry, because it feels like a scene that's been built up to for many episodes already, and it is really cathartic. And then we have also when we enter this guy's mind, because this guy doesn't recognize people's faces, so everyone's faces get replaced by a piece of go chess, white for women, black for men. That's a really creative visualization. I really like that. Also, instead of saying go, I'm going to say YK or Weiqi. Again, if you want to be linguistically accurate about things. But yeah, we have the ending. We have a very impressive dance sequence involving Mama, which I thought is a beautiful send-off to the end of the show. We don't need some big explosive finale where all the characters die. We just need a dance scene. That's all we need, and that's nice. That's beautiful. Let's keep it that way. However, the way the camera was swooving around, it feels like a K-pop dance cam. So the dance scene could be better. But even afterwards, we still have a lot of unresolved mysteries, like who is Jinshi? Who is this mysterious other girl who's, planning to find a resurrection medicine? Like, I don't know. So I guess that leaves way for a season 2. But it's not bad. I started off not liking this anime, but that much, but at the end I'm really satisfied. So yeah, I'm giving the Apothecary Diaries a strong 7 out of 10. So have you watched the Apothecary Diaries or Kusuria no Hitorigoto? Comments below, let me know, subscribe if you want more, and thanks for watching.